he was supposed to be a step behind, and it seemed like he was always, a step ahead or right where he needed to be, albeit against, again, the defense playing very vanilla. We didn't have our pass rushers in there, but still, most people didn't expect him to even look that good. So it's one of those things where, kind of like you talked about, it's one of those things, he feels comfortable out there, and you can tell that he's immediately going to be able to come out there and not get, rattled by the moment. And also the favorable schedule early on, you got to think that it's going to be a good opportunity for him to build confidence. And I don't mean to say this in any way, actually, as a shot to Colorado, it will be a shot to Colorado. But like, he gets the experience of playing at like a huge primetime game against a lesser opponent, and that also is he gets to feel the pressure of that, but doesn't also have to go out there and get doors blown off by an Ohio State. So that's another aspect to it that I love. But yeah, any other thoughts on Raiola, or what you think? Kind of what do you think his season's going to look like? Do you think that first few games are going to be enough to benefit him to get him ready for the Ohio State game? I'm thinking he's going to still be around the 30 touchdown to maybe 10 interception ratio. He's going to make mistakes, going to make a lot of mistakes, but I think the biggest thing is making sure that the timing of those mistakes aren't what they have been, because that's been Nebraska Seals, the timing.
Was it 2021 Illinois? Was that the game where we started with the screen
opener, a fumble?
Was it 2020?
I think it was 2020 opener, because I remember being really sad when I left the bar that day. Yeah.
Okay, that was one of those screen passes, like a bubble screen or something, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and it was like every quarter, it's an invitation to every quarterback in Nebraska for like 15 years trying to run that. Yeah, is it hiked? Yeah, it's hiked. Yeah. I'm going to throw over there.
Somewhere.
And you just kind of, it's really lazy and slow, and everybody knows it's coming. And I think from what you saw from him, I know Nebraskans hate those plays to the side. But they're really good constraint plays because they keep the defense from just mashing in the middle and clogging up the run lanes and stuff like that. Dylan Raiola, I want to see those plays executed from a guy who's going to snap the ball out there, and wide receivers are going to block those plays. Those plays should be part of our offense. And I hope we run them a lot and we beat the shit out of people with them.
Yeah.
I know that we want to see Nebraska run the ball, but I think when you see, I made this argument the other night. Alex Bullock played really well last year. Mm-hmm. And I think he was third in receptions or something like that.
Yeah. I think I broke down he was third actually.
Yeah. I think when you look at our receiving core now, I think he's like fifth or sixth.
Yep.
Down the list of guys that are going to be playing on the field. You got Banks, Nair. I always say Malachi Coleman for some screwed up mind. Malachi Coleman. Yeah, Coleman, Thomas Fedoni. I mean, we have a lot of receivers with, I think, a lot of potential talent. There's the P word, but I think that that it's going to be interesting. And then there's Jalen Lloyd. You just throw the ball in and he scores on every team we're going to play, and we all cheer and we love watching them weep against it. It's like weep.
Yeah.
40, 50 yard receptions.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to be able to do that? I think UTEP's the opener, right? It's not opening on the road. We're not opening a conference game, thank God.
And they have a lot of transfers at UTEP. It's all juniors and seniors, no freshmen on their starting roster too. I saw that earlier.
I think that I think Satterfield. I know a lot of people probably don't like Satterfield. We'll see what he can do with an offense this year.
I don't mind.
And I think it's really going to be, we're going to throw the ball to set up the run, and it's probably going to drive people insane.
Yep,
especially old people like me.
But I mean,
you can't throw the ball in November, but the wind. Okay, that's whatever.
No, yeah, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like, if the one thing that Glenn Thomas or that Satterfield had to do last year that people don't realize is he basically had to patchwork that offense together, because he didn't have the personnel to run the style of football that he wanted to run. He likes to get big, physical. He likes to get in those two tight end sets, and he likes to, use that deep pass. It's not a system like if you look at Baylor's offenses, right? Like it was a very balanced attack, but using the pass to set up the run, they're going to want to do a lot of RPOs and just get playmakers in space and stuff like that. But I think Satterfield was just kind of a wrongfully criticized, of course. One season it's like everybody could blame Jeff Sims, but it seemed like everybody also wanted to blame Satterfield, and nobody wanted to just point out the fact that like we're not using injuries as an excuse. That's actually what happened, and the whole plan went awry. He didn't have the ability to sit there and be able to nickel and dime his way down the field because we didn't have receivers that could really create separation in the route running. We had burners, but we didn't have people, and that's another thing that we saw from the spring game. I think you got guys like Jalen Lloyd now looking a little sharper in their route running and looking like they're actually creating separation elsewhere other than the deep ball. So we're going to see a lot more variety, and that's going to set up the run, like you said. And then the running back room. This is one of the best running back rooms I feel like we've had in a long while, albeit, not a lot of health, but Emmett Johnston to me is the guy. And he is a stud, not only just running the ball, but up here, right? Like he is a grinder, and he welcomes challenges, and he wants to hit you. Like he wants to get in there, and he wants to get physical. He wants to hit you, run around you, and he can do both. So what's your take overall on the running back room? How are you feeling about that as well?
We have a gob of guys.
Yeah,
it's like receiving. We have guys everywhere.
Yep.
Let's see. Gabe Irvin got injured last year. The guy that I've always said this, the guy that I think is the most explosive player is who hasn't shown it is Ramir Johnson. I just think that he's got a lot of talent. He's been injured and he hasn't been able to show what he can do except for some flashes here and there. But what'd we lose? Irvin last year, and then we lost Ramir Johnson.
Yep.
Anthony Grant, I think, finished the season. Emmett Johnson was the one that really came on last year and showed what he could do. We got the guys, and they're all kind of different guys, and we can run all sorts of different things with them. It's just a matter of, I don't know. I'm kind of anxious to see what the offense is going to look like with all these people.
For sure. Yeah. And Emmett Johnson, for all intents and purposes last year, without a passing game in most of those games, was still able to average over 4 yards per carry. So just to be able to see what he can do, and like you said, just the depth, Ramir, when I was talking to, I had Chancellor Brewington on one time, and whenever he was talking about Ramir, he was even talking about just how underrated he is, even kind of just running and squeezing between the tackles and stuff like that. He's like, you could send him up the middle and he'll be able to find space and find creases. And Ramir's been healthy. He wasn't in the spring game, but he was healthy before the spring game. It's just he's one of those guys that they were talking about. They already know kind of what he's built like mentally, and they already know what he can do. And it's guys like him that we're talking about, all these additions and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't understand like the additions of players that weren't able to play last year. Those are additions as well. And we got Ramir, who's probably as skilled as any running back in that room. And
what about this new guy?
Which one?
Dowdell.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
So I say Dowdell. So I've heard some people say Dowdell. I don't know. And I really want to hear like him say it so I can know for sure, because I hate mispronouncing people's names.
It better not be Dowdell. That's what it better not be.
We're all wrong the whole time. It's like Micah Mazuka. His name's spelled like Mazkua. So I was like, Mazkua for the longest time. Then I was like, everybody's pronouncing it Mazuka. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm wrong here. But Dante Dowdell, played in limited. I hate that Oregon burned his red shirt, but played in limited action last year. Averaged over 5 yards per carry, but he looked good in the spring game. He's going to have a big role in the offense, of course, but I just think that he is still just going to need a little bit more development. And I think guys like Ramir, Gabe, and Emmett, are going to take a lot of the work, but I think Dante Dowdell will be used very situationally. He's a big, powerful guy. Put him in short yardage situations, the goal lines, and you saw that he can even get up to speed, down the sideline, albeit in a spring game. But still, he's one of those guys that I think he's going to be very, very good. And this running back room has depth galore.
Yeah.
Just as the wide receiver room does, just the wide receiver room doesn't have the experience.